Hello and welcome to our Gold Learning viewers. I'm Fiona Lang Sharp, IBCLC Director of Communications and MC for Gold Learning. Well, welcome everyone. I have the pleasure of sitting down and chatting with Tracy Donegan today, and we're going to be talking about her presentation coming up just in a few minutes here. She's going to be speaking at our upcoming Gold Perinatal 2017 conference this year. That's coming up October 2nd. Go to the website www.goldperinatal.com for all the information that's coming up with this conference. This is an awesome topic. I have to say that out loud. Did I say that out? I did. Because, we're all talking about it, Tracy. And so isn't it great that we are talking about it now? Because it seems like for the longest time, this was not a topic that you would really see in the mainstream, but I think people are really gravitating to understanding more about it. So welcome to you, and thank you for taking on this challenge and talking about this.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm delighted to be here.
Yeah, it is great, and I'm glad that we're seeing this, especially with our mothers, families, and of course our infants, and how we're relating it to their well-being. So that's great. So let's talk about you for a minute, Tracy. I would love it if you could introduce yourself to our audience and tell them a little bit about what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Thanks so much. I am a midwife. First of all, I did my training in Ireland, but recently relocated back to the US with the entire family to really focus on mental health for women around the world. So I have a really strong interest in maternal mental health and kind of moving now into paternal mental health as well, because that's an area that's really just getting some focus at the moment, and a really important area. So I'm really interested in everything that's related to mental well-being, emotional well-being for pregnancy, birth, and long after the birth.
Oh, wonderful. That's awesome. And like I mentioned, for me, you and I were talking, I have to tell the audience, talking a little bit offline about how I've been approaching this and want to do more. And I think there's a lot of a yearning, to look at this and see what the health benefits are individually. But of course, now we can share it and learn together with our clients, which is a great resource as well. So perhaps you can tell me a little bit about your journey as far as this particular topic. When did you first become sort of connected with it? Why did it become important to you?
Well, I started my own mindfulness practice many, many years ago, and I think probably like many of the attendees, if you've ever, learned a little bit about mindfulness, you have days when it's really, really easy and days when you just can't find the time to prioritize. And so it was a part of my life for a long time. And then as generally happens, things get busy, things get stressful, and the one practice that can actually be really supportive to you gets bumped down the list a little bit. So my own practice has been, I always say, quite forgiving, and that's one of the nice things about learning mindfulness, that you always get to begin again, and that can be as simple as the next breath. That can be as simple as, okay, tomorrow I'll begin again. So that's kind of where my journey started, and it started, funnily enough, here in Silicon Valley, in one of the, I guess, fastest paced parts of the world, where it's 24/7, lots of focus on technology, and unfortunately technology is taking us out of that space of being aware and being mindful. So it's almost it's tricky to try and get yourself back into that space when we know that the research suggests that we check our phones every 6 minutes. So we're constantly in the state of digital distraction. So learning how to pause a little bit and be more present in our lives is really a huge benefit for ourselves and for our kids.
I know, and I have to say that just in our conversations that we were talking about it, and you were, talking to me about the forgiveness about mindfulness, which instantly made me feel good about wanting to try again and keep working towards it. And so, this is something that I can go off and do right away, which is awesome. But the children, when we were talking about the children, Tracy, they really, it gets to my heart when I see them because we know that it's impacting them. And you were even telling me that we're starting to see this in the schools, which is so lovely. And I feel like now, as grown-ups, as the adults, we need to catch up with what our kids are learning.
No, totally. And as especially with young children who, I mean, the parts of the brain that is associated with emotional regulation just hasn't developed yet. So any little tools that we can give young children to help themselves feel more connected and that aspect of being forgiving of themselves. What There's a new term that's been coined called kindfulness, and it's really about self-compassion and really taking a much more forgiving and generous attitude towards ourselves as well as the people around us.
Oh, what a lovely term. I really like that. I'm making little notes as you're talking. I'm going to be putting those little post-it notes on my desk as I fill my day with busyness. So thank you for that. Well, I love chatting with you. It's so much fun. I know our audience is going to garnish a lot from listening to this because this is just something that's so practical, makes sense, and I think we all deep down sort of yearn for this type of almost like an intervention now in our lives. Like I think we're hungry for this.
We are, definitely.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right. So lastly, as we wrap up, because you and I could probably talk all day about this, uh, perhaps you could share just a snippet of what you're really excited about sharing with our audience during the Gold Perinatal Conference.
I think for me, it's about dispelling some of the myths around what mindfulness is, and really how easy it can be to incorporate into even the busiest, most stressful life. And sharing some of the really profound changes in that happen in the brain when we learn to be more present. So it's not just about learning how to breathe or to calm ourselves down. We're actually changing the structure of our brain when we start to practice being more mindful and returning our focus to the present each time the mind wanders. So it's not just about having a few moments of self-care. We're literally changing the structure of the brain. And I think for parents and kids, there's so much that we can do in a society that has become very challenging the last few years, that we can literally train our brain to feel more positive in our lives.
Yeah, having the science behind the changes certainly makes it impactful for healthcare for sure, and therefore, helping us put it into practice where it may not have been there before, or if we're in a community or a group of people where we're working to help facilitate it in that manner as well as it, like you said, as we see those changes in the brain, it makes it that gives it more authority, I think, when you're
Yeah.
working in a practice. Whereas, if we're all convinced already individually that we know it's going to work just because it has that physiological change as well, it makes it that bit more profound, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, wonderful. Wonderful stuff. Can't wait. I'm so excited. Well, thank you for chatting with us today, Tracy. It's been lovely having you here. And for our listening audience, do join us. So, a couple of things you need to know. Our conference for Gold Perinatal starts on October 2nd. 2017. You can go to the website and check out all the details of the upcoming events and schedule that we have online. Of course, time zones will be different for those of you who are out of the country, and so check out those as well. We want to make sure that you know what times to come in. And then, of course, you can listen to the recordings as well. So know that if you can't make it on any of our live days, you can listen to the recordings as well. I will tell you, if you want to come and engage with Tracy live, she is going to be with us on Tuesday, October 17th. So you can mark that on your calendar now, and you can come and chat with her live. So that would be a great opportunity as well. Well, thank you again, Tracy. It was lovely having you here today.
Thank you, Fiona.
And thank you to our listening audience. Always a pleasure hosting. Bye bye for now.